Hello and welcome to Off the Beat and Track podcast. I'm your host, I'm Stu Whiffen. It's another week, therefore it's another episode. And on today's episode, I'm sitting down with Johnny from Pet Needs. How are you, mate?
I'm good, Stu. Yeah, doing really well, man. I'm excited to do this. I've listened to it for for years, which
Oh,
is cool.
really?
I listened to a lot of the stuff on the Distraction Pieces Network and stuff like that. So
Oh, right.
when
Oh,
this landed in
okay.
our inbox, I was really excited. So yeah, having a good day, man.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Where are you today?
I'm in Colchester in Essex,
Oh,
so yeah,
wonderful.
not too far away.
Wonderful. I was there the weekend before last.
Oh,
And
yeah, what are you doing?
I've got a little camper van,
Mm.
and so there's a little campsite about 5 minutes outside of town. So I'll just pop down there. And what's the boozer that's got a little live venue and sells really nice but expensive beer?
Three Wise Monkeys.
That's it, mate. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, they got some good beer in there, mate.
Yeah, yeah, it's really nice. It's really cool. We've obviously we've done gigs at Top as well, but we did a
Yeah.
little album listening party. They've got a gin bar like downstairs, which is
Oh,
like hardly anyone knows about it. It's like this little secret, tiny little place. So we did a little acoustic show in there the other day as well, which was great.
wonderful, wonderful. Well, look, Johnny, let's kick off your playlist, and
Cool.
I'm going to ask you to start today's show by telling me the song that you regard as having the greatest ever intro, please, mate.
Yeah, sure thing. So when I was thinking about what has the greatest ever intro, I was thinking when something comes on at a party, what's the song that makes me go, "Oh yeah," kind of thing, like in the quickest amount of time. And
Oh, I've lost your
I
audio.
went for
I lost your
random
audio
with the
then.
song Scott.
You
So
might.
have you got me back?
Yeah, yeah, we're good. We're good.
Okay,
Just as
one
you
sec.
announced it. Just as you announced it.
Oh, oh, have you got me back?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
have you got me back? Okay, cool, 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 cool. So yeah, the bands that I think and the song that I think has the best intro, the band are Random Hands and the song is Scum Triumphant.
Right now, I pride myself on being pretty knowledgeable on music. I don't know much about these. Tell us a little bit about them.
Yeah, cool. So they're like a ska punk metal band that used to be my favorite band when I was at uni, like about like 15 years ago. I used to go see them. They're from York, I think. I might be wrong. They're from that kind of around there. And they're just incredible. I don't think they do it pro anymore, but they were doing it pro for about 10 years. And this song, it just starts with trombone and it just has an amazing, like just an amazing lick on the trombone that just goes like da 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 da. Then I have this big metal guitar that just goes boom like that, while it just like bum ba da 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 da, and then the drums come in and it follows follows the da 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 da, and it's just like just absolute party straight away. And I think as an intro to a song, it's just like that potential's building. You hear the hook straight away, but you hear it kind of solo, and then you just have it kind of like rumbling and building until like it almost like drops almost like a club track, you know, where it just kind of has that build
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
just drops. And yeah, it's I just think they're my favorite live band still my favorite, like to the point that we did our album before last, we did the album launch at Rescue Rooms in Nottingham, and I asked him like a special guest. I was like, look, you've been my favorite band for years, would you be like special guest openers? And because I thought they were the best live band in the world, and me and my brother who plays guitar and our bass player were watching them from the balcony. And my brother and our bass player both turns to me and goes, "Why have you booked these? We're never going to be able to follow this band ever. Like they are the best live band in the world. You fucked us up." But yeah, they're amazing. And so friendly, massively supportive of other bands as well. And I love them. And yeah, I mean, this isn't even their biggest song. Their biggest song is one called "Play Some Scar," and that's an amazing one as well. And that's got a great intro. But "Scum Triumphant" is just yeah, just iconic straight away.
Fantastic choice, mate. Fantastic choice. Tell me the first song you remember hearing that had an emotional impact on you, please, Johnny.
Sure. So I was, yeah, this is really interesting. I really like this question because I was first like thinking about the first songs I heard and the first songs I got into and stuff. And like the first like a band that I loved when I was a kid with the Spice Girls, like really loved those and everything. But then I was thinking, what was the first one that actually kind of like really hit me? Um, And I remember being in year three, so I was like 7 years old. And we had quite a cool teacher called Mr. Condell who used to bring his acoustic guitar in and like had a leather jacket and long hair and stuff like that, like primary school teacher. And he made us, before we knew it was a song, he made us like kind of like look and dissect this poem. And then there was this big revelation that this poem was a song by a band. And it was Eleanor Rigby by the Beatles. And just I never knew before that because I just listened to pop really before that. Well, basically, I listened exclusively to the Spice Girls before that, and like nothing else really. And then the fact that it had all these kind of intertwining stories, and I'd never thought that. I just never even knew that a song could be a story. But the fact that it was so visual and it was so vivid, and then just asking that question because I'd never thought about like I grew up in a working class family and stuff, but I never even contemplated people being lonely before, really, because I was like
Mm.
7 years old. So I came to terms with the fact that there are lonely people, and there's this kind of like vicar that goes and does a sermon that no one hears and stuff like that. And I remember it massively, massively like having an emotive impact on me as at 7 years old. And like the Beatles are not a band that I listen loads to or anything now. Like as like when I was older, I got more into like punk and stuff. They're my brother who's the guitarist of our band, one of his favorite bands ever. But this song still, when I hear it, I was just thrown back to being 7 years old, and it was my first proper emotive reaction to a song.
It's really interesting, like that you say that, um, because I'm considerably older than you, and when I was at school, in like my first year in senior school,
Mm.
there was music classes available which I went to, and the first thing we done was they played us Eleanor Rigby, and we had to
Wow.
dissect it
Yeah.
and look at it, and I've never really thought of that before, like as being something that was so impactful. But again, like to sort of almost echo what you said, like I didn't realize that like loneliness was like an actual thing, like
Mm.
people were actually lonely, and it really resonates, and to this day I do think that Eleanor Rigby is an one of so many masterpieces by the
Yeah.
Beatles, and yeah, it is an absolute cracker, mate. It really is, and yeah, I don't know if that's something that gets sort of passed around at like teacher training. If you're going to be a music teacher, it's like, yeah, right, just like absolutely destroy and break these kids by playing them Eleanor Rigby at a really vulnerable age, like just
That's
fuck with
it.
their heads. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that kid over there that's just not stopped singing the fucking Spice Girls, blow his fucking mind with the Beatles.
That's the thing, and I'd heard like rock music and stuff before because like I remember like I had like a little tape deck and I'd be playing Spice Girls on tape, and my dad would be playing Oasis on vinyl, trying to like kind of like
Mm,
like drown out the Spice Girls basically. So I was aware of rock music and stuff at that point, but and I kind of liked what he was listening to, but it was yeah, it was just that one. There's something about that, and I think it's something about the fact that I came to it through the words first as well, and then had this revelation that oh my god, like this story is a song,
yeah.
and I thought that was a really clever way for him. Like he was with like 7 and 8 year olds, he was like doing it with, and it was yeah, I still remember it now.
Fantastic, fantastic. So you mentioned your dad was playing Oasis and stuff. Was
Mm.
home a musical environment growing up?
So my dad's play guitar, and he in the like kind of I think in when I was about 11, 12 or something, he started like playing in a covers band. Like they never really kind of gigged much or anything. They were just kind of like a practice room band. So but we did get them because he's like in his 60s now. And a couple of the band members are like a decade older than him as well. So they're kind of like getting on a bit and stuff. But when we returned and played Derby, we played the Hairy Dog in Derby, which is like a 500 cap venue. We rammed it out, and we got his covers bands to open for us,
Ah,
and
that's
that was
so
such an
cool.
amazing. It was such an amazing moment, and like we'd kind of prepped our audience that they were going on and doing like Eddie Cochran and stuff like that, and then threw in like a couple of Green Day songs and stuff, and just the room went nuts, and like there was like mosh pits and crowd surfers and stuff. And my dad is kind of yeah, he's just like a working class guy that I see. He's a really nice guy and quite like philosophical and stuff. But he kind of like sits on the sofa with his beer. He goes to watch Derby County play and stuff. And I've never seen him in a context of like standing speaking down a microphone or anything like that. And he was just amazing, and he was so funny, and he just held the audience so well. And obviously like the audience was so on side. But I was expecting them to be fine, and then our audience like be really good to them, and then they were good, but then he was just, as a front person, was just amazing. And then I was like, I kind of like afterwards I was like, what, where did this come from and stuff? And
Yeah,
he's like,
yeah.
oh, in my old job, because he used to work for this thing called CareLink, so he'd be installing like things into old people's homes, so if they fell they'd like press a button around the neck or something. And he was like, oh, so I used to deliver a bit of training, so I was just like, I can speak in front of people and stuff. And but he was, yeah, it was amazing. It was so good. So yeah, it kind like we weren't hugely surrounded by music, but he did have that guitar that would sometimes come down, kind of like off the top of the wardrobe, maybe twice a year or something like that.
Oh, that's such a wonderful moment to get to share that with your old man. That's
Oh, it
that's
was so
lovely, mate.
good. It was
That's
so
so
good.
cool. Let's stay in the formative years. I mean, you mentioned the music
Cool.
teacher. So for track three, I'm going to ask you to tell me the song that reminds you of your time at school, please.
Yeah, so this one, again, all of these I've just kind of like I answered kind of like instantaneously. And then this one threw me straight back to being in year 10, I think it was. And there was a guy called Craig in my English class that came in and he burnt 30 copies. It's back when you were like burning CDs. And he'd burnt 30 copies of this album and passed it all around, and he'd like printed off the cover and just like folded it around in paper and shoved it in for everyone. He's like, everybody needs to listen to the album. And the album was Toxicity by System of a Down, and the song was Chop Suey. And I just remember us all just going home, like kind of pre Spotify and all that kind of stuff, going home, listening to it, and then just having our minds like absolutely blown. And I remember he did it for the second System of a Down album as well, that had a song called Violent Pornography on it. And we must have been actually younger actually for the first album, because I remember like we were still in school for the second album, the second one that he made. But yeah, that one. And it was just, there was a weird time in like music, I guess, because we were like all just kind of like Midlands goths and stuff like that. But where like music around that time, like there was your punk and stuff, and like you kind of like Sum 41 pop punk and all that, but there was stuff that was really kind of odd and weird, and then went in loads of different directions. And yeah, this song is just, when I think of West Park School, which is where I went, again, pretty rough school that I was burnt down twice because of arson when I was there and stuff like that. But I remember, yeah, him just coming in with these CDs that he'd burnt, and yeah, us all just falling in love with that band.
It's such a strange sort of time. When would you say that was? 98, maybe?
I reckon
Maybe a little later.
I think it's a little later. I think it's a little
Yeah.
later than that, because I was definitely in senior school,
Mm.
and I'd have been 10 in 98. So yeah, I reckon maybe early 2000s. I mean, the other thing is, I don't know, he might have brought it in and burnt it like years after it came out as well.
Yeah.
Because we didn't know back then, really, did we? Like unless we get the magazines and stuff.
Yeah.
Uh,
It
so
was a
yeah,
weird time. It was a weird time for I guess variants of kind of alternative rock, I suppose, because
mm,
I think new metal was had pretty much died at this point.
sure, yeah, yeah,
I think it had peaked and had started to sort of disappear. And like you say, the aforementioned like Sum 41 and that whole pop punk
mm,
blink scene that just exploded around sort of American Pie and that
yeah,
seemed to be sort of tailing off a little bit as well. And I think it just sort of left the bands that perhaps were a little bit more experimental, like System,
mm,
and I imagine around this time White Pony come out as well, and I
mm,
think all of a sudden you've got these bands that kind of like, I suppose Deftones come through with the new metal thing, but I
mm,
think sort of left it well behind and were like, hang on, look,
yeah,
there's a bit more to us than that, and it felt like System of a Down transcended audiences as well. It wasn't just metalheads that liked them. Indie kids were all over it. It was like it was just I'd never had anything like it before,
yeah,
and I think as a front man, he was amazing, and the kind of just the sort of time structures of the songs and that, which it was
yeah,
just like it's really weird. I run a rock club in Essex
mm,
and have done for 30 odd years, and it's so weird. Like I've been playing Chop Suey like since the day that dropped, and I will be playing it this Friday, and 600 kids will lose their shit to it all
yeah,
over again, and it's mad. It's like it's transcended it, and
mm,
them tracks and aerials and stuff like that, and toxicity, like it just goes off constantly, and it's like
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're a very very fascinating band. Not so down on their ticket prices to go and see them.
Mm.
I thought that was a little
Are they really
excessive.
expensive, are they?
Yeah, it's fucking nuts, man. Like nuts money. But yeah, what a solid choice, mate. So
Nice.
um so school was so you're in Colchester now. Where was you mentioned Derby a
It was
few
in
times?
Derby, yeah. So that's where we grew up. So I grew up in Spondon in Derby, and then moved to Colchester about I think about 12 years ago. I was following a girlfriend, now wife, down we met at the UEA in Norwich. So yeah, it was in Derby. So in Spondon in Derby, a place called West Park.
Right, right. So what was the sort of scene like? Because back in the day when I was sort of doing gigs and stuff and touring about, I'm trying to think of the name of the venue in Derby that we played,
Maybe the
and
Vic.
it was, and there was a guy called Joy who was he had a
Mm.
big hit in a band called White Town. Uh, Hang on, what was it called? No, it was. Oh, what's the track called? One of the biggest one-hit wonders ever.
Yeah.
Your Woman by White Town. I'm sure you'd know it if you heard it. It was a
Mm.
global number one, and he was just this quirky little guy from Derby, and he used to put on live events, and we used to go and play them.
Oh,
And
cool.
it was a mad little venue. I can't for the life remember what it was called, but yeah, I hope it's still going strong because so many of them have long gone now,
Yeah, sure.
which is a real shame. But so how was it? How was growing up in Derby? What was the scene like?
So there was a really old school punk scene. Like the Midlands always seems to be like had that kind of thing. Like kind of like the UK sub seems to be coming through town all the time and all those kind of things. It's where I first, even though they weren't old school, it's first discovered like Random Hand and stuff. And there was this one venue right by the train station called the Vic. And it was I think 80 capacity and the sound was terrible and all this kind of stuff. But just fun like old school punk bands used to come through and they had this thing called the Punks Picnic, which was out like on the green. It was like all just you kind of like massive bottles of cider and everyone with their ripped clothes and dyed hair and all that kind of stuff. But then also something really interesting happened when I was around about kind of 18, I think, or maybe 60, maybe a bit younger. Is that the Arctic Monkeys kicked off, and that was the first time that we'd ever, because in fact we had this kind of old school punk scene and stuff. It was really good, but everyone was still kind of 20 years older than us. um, but then when the Arctic Monkeys kicked off, it was the first time that we'd heard like people singing in our accents, really. Like, because we're from Derby, they were from Rotherham, and it's I've lost my accent a lot, but it's coming out again now, which always does when I'm kind of talking about it. But like, it's so hard to explain. Now I live in Colchester in Essex, on the like cusp of London. You don't realize when you live in Derby that culture just doesn't seem to apply to you at
Mm.
all. Because like all the big bands, they're all coming from not through Nottingham because it's like Rock City and
Yeah, of
stuff. And like
course.
so, and you're like, we're not really going to be able to. Well, we weren't affording to get the train over or anything at the time, so we were just kind of like building something from the ground up. And then suddenly, like, and then all TV and stuff that just existed in a different space. It's so weird. Like we'd never ever have seen anyone that was on the telly locally or any of that kind of stuff. And then yeah, suddenly I remember I was working in a record shop in MVC Records in Derby when the Arctic Monkeys dropped their first album. We couldn't believe that there was a band that sounded like us. But that meant that subsequently after that, the old school punk scene still existed, but then there was like every other band sounded like the Arctic Monkeys, like every other single band, every other band in they're kind of like 14, 15-year-old and stuff. Because we all realized then as well is that we didn't really need to find singers anymore because we could all just go and that's all we needed to do. And it was like, so yeah, it was a interesting time, but you would go and you'd either play the old school punk gigs and be with your kind of like spike hair, leather jacket, kind of guys in their 40s and stuff like that, which is really fun. Or you'd play like with the younger audiences and younger, like other younger bands, and you would hear like, I bet that you look good on the dance floor probably 4 times on a like four
Yeah.
band because everyone would put it in. But my one regret really is because I was a bit of a kind of like snotty nosed punk. I almost kind of turned my nose up at the Arctic Monkeys at the time because they were just like almost like too popular for me. And now that kind of, I'm really gutted that I missed that part of culture really when I was like so close to it. But Derby was good. Like, yeah, we just had to build build your own stuff. There was a practice room called the Music Shed, and that kind of had a kind of, it was all just punk, like, but that had like a, it was run by an old school punk and had a punk scene around it. And then you had, yeah, the Victoria Inn, which is, yeah, this kind of mad little venue that was just, yeah, it was just kind of, it felt legendary to us,
Yeah.
which is cool.
Oh, love it. Love it. Okay. First song you remember buying from a record shop, please, Johnny.
Yeah, so this one, it was again, like I'm taking all these questions very seriously and very literally, because I'd bought albums before, so I'd like bought All Killer No Filler and by Sum 41 and stuff. Bought the Spice Girls, obviously. I think I bought the Bewitched album as well back in the day when I was really young. But they were all from Asda. They're all from Asda and Spondon, every single one. And then the first time that I remember going into a record store, do you know John Otway?
Yes, of
Like,
course.
okay, cool, cool. So for his 50th birthday, he was trying to get no, he was trying to get a hit. He was trying to get in the top 40 or top 10, I think he was trying to do. And he'd released kind of like multiple variants of his like single. I think he was released like 3 or 4 different ones. And lots of places weren't stocking it. So Woolworths weren't stocking it, supermarkets weren't stocking it and stuff. But my dad took us into town, into this like tiny little independent record shop, and I bought one version of it. He bought another version of it. My brother bought another version of it as well.
Love
And
that.
that's the first time that I remember being in a proper record shop and realizing that there was like just stores that were just completely dedicated to music. I never knew.
Yeah.
I thought it's a section like next to the clothes at the back of Asda. I used to always, because I always just like music, and it was in the top left. I remember my brother used to go and like go into the toys section. I
Oh,
used to go into
I
see
lost
like
your
what was in
audio
the
again,
charts
then,
just
man.
by.
I
Oh, did
lost
you?
you.
You got me
Yeah,
back?
you're all good. You're all good.
You sure? Yeah, cool,
Yeah.
cool, cool. Okay, yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what's happening, but yeah, just let me know if it happens again. But yeah, so like, yeah, for me before, I just thought like music sections were literally, well, like music stores. You could only buy music like in the back corner of Asda, really. So I would go into Asda. First I'd go to the front of Asda and I'd look at the music magazines, and then I'd go to like the top left and I'd look at all the CDs. But then, yeah, realizing through the power that is John Otway, the legend that isn't John Otway, like that there was stores that were completely dedicated to music was amazing. And yeah, that was the first song. It was called Bunsen Burner by John Otway.
Love it. Love it. First mention, well, nearly 600 episodes, first mention of John
Is
Otway on
it?
this podcast. So, yeah, and
Oh,
it's a very
nice.
welcome one as well. Fantastic. Fantastic. Right, let's go clubbing. The song that
Cool.
soundtracked your year's clubbing, please, Johnny.
So I think this one is so niche that I had to Google and Google and Google and Google and Google to find this, because I wasn't a massive, like, I never like massively went, like when I was a student I went to a couple of clubs and stuff, but then I was thinking of the ones where I was kind of like at house parties or squat parties or at like weird kind of like gatherings in the woods and all those kind of things. So they were our kind of festivals, and we'd get a bit spangled, and you'd probably end up just like lying down whilst everything's kind of going on around you, kind of stuff. And there's this band called Gentle Mystics, and they've got a song called Hark. And it's like kind of weird gypsy swing kind of stuff, but they have like a rap in the middle of it. They have like a tap dancing solo, and I remember just I was somewhere in the woods and something like big speakers and something was going on. I remember just lying down and this tap dancing solo going on. I could just like see it, you know what I mean? Like you could just feel it and see it and everything. And this was the first time that I'd listened to this song that like today is the first time I listened to it in years. And do you know when you kind of like tie something like, this is kind of my version of clubbing, but you tie something completely back to those those times, and then you suddenly like you know like feel all the feelings again. And it was like, yeah, so yeah, it was cool. I massively recommend people listen to it. I don't know any other songs by them. I don't know where they're from, and I had to do a lot of googling to find it. But it was amazing. It just threw me right back. I think it was a friend called M. Like I had some kind of like hippie kind of cross punk friend called M who just loved it and would stick it on all the time. And yeah, that's the one. That's the one that threw me back to my yeah, my version of clubbing.
Love that. Love that. I mean, more bands should have tap dancing solos in the
Yeah,
middle
it's
of
so nuts.
their records. 100%, mate. Well, look, from clubbing, let's go back home and for track six, tell me the favourite song from an artist from your home county, please.
Yeah, cool. So I count my home as Colchester. I've been in Colchester for like kind of like 12, 13 years or something. And obviously Colchester's home of Blur as well. We're really proud of them. Well, I think we're more proud of them than they are of Colchester. But we're still holding on to it. We're still proud of them. Though they
Ain't
did.
that weird? Ain't that weird? It's like it's so
Mm,
strange. Like I'm just up the road from you, and
yeah, yeah,
and like Basildon, like we are obsessed that Depeche Mode are from Basildon,
sure.
and Depeche Mode are not. They just don't seem to care a fuck about it,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like now when you think like what it would mean to come back and play some sort of show there. And I know Blur obviously did. They
Yeah,
come
they did the
back,
art
didn't they?
centre,
They
didn't
done
they?
the Arts Centre,
Yeah.
didn't they? And yeah, fantastic. But it is strange, isn't it, where they're a little reluctant to shout about where
Yeah.
they come from.
Yeah, and I don't know why. I wonder if it's because they moved to London quite quickly or something. Because I wonder if anyone ever say that about. I mean, we're not big enough for anyone to care about that kind of stuff. But I'm technically from Derby, but I'm still choosing a song from Colchester now.
Yeah.
So maybe they say. But then
Well, you've
Graham
just
Coxon.
alienated all your Derby fans now. They're
I
like,
know. I love
he's,
Derby as well.
he's turned his back on us. He's from fucking Essex now. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. But I've been in Colchester all of like all my adult life basically, and ever since the band was born, the band was formed here, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so like my favorite, choosing a Blur song, but I'm choosing one for their newest album. I'm choosing a Barbaric, and the reason was it's got it's got a not rhyme basically, the opposite of a rhyme, where it just kind of like trips you up, and then I think the one word that he chooses to use instead just like hits so hard as a result. And it's so the chorus of Barbaric is like, I've lost the feeling that I thought I'd never lose. Now where am I going? At what cost? The feeling that I thought I'd never lose. And then he just says, it is barbaric. And like instead, because I was thinking there is like he's going to rhyme going with showing or something like that,
Yeah, of
which has
course.
still been like a decent thing. But when he's just like, and it's almost through gritted teeth when he's like, it is barbaric, like you can feel like the plosive, like kind of like erupting from his mouth
Yeah.
as well, and it's just feels so close. And I was lucky enough to see, I think it was at the Apollo or something. It was like a for them really small venue, like, and saw that album in full. I think it's a week it was released or a couple of weeks afterwards. And it was just amazing. It was amazing, and it feels like, and this is something you don't really get in the kind of punk genre as much. Is a lot of punk bands still sound like what they did like back in the day. Like I'm thinking like bands like Rancid and stuff, still writing bangers. But he has written this, and he sounds like a guy that's in his 50s, and it's from that perspective. In the same way that someone like Nick Cave or something has always kind of like his music's aged with him, and I think that's so much more powerful. And yeah, I think the whole album's amazing, but I think especially that song when I just heard that word barbaric that tripped me up and just threw me in a different direction, and then just like hit me in the chest so hard. So yeah, Blur Barbaric, my favorite song from Essex.
It's such a perfect observation what you just said about him there, and and also the comparison with Nick Cave, because
Mm.
I think, look, I'm no Oasis hater. I think they've wrote some fantastic songs, but whenever you mention Blur, Oasis are generally thrown around in a conversation at some point, and I think I've always sort of looked at it as like Oasis are like the Stones, right? They're going to
Mm.
write 30 albums, and they're all pretty much going to sound not that different from each other.
Yeah,
Whereas I think like Damon Albarn, like he's got a bit of, he's kind of got that sort of Bowie approach where everything's like evolves, and like
mm.
Blur have evolved, and they're the band. They're not anywhere near one of my favourite bands, but they're the band I've seen the most, and I've seen them from them playing in my venue on the first ever tour,
Oh wow.
right the way up, and it was really nice. I had Dave from Blur on the show the morning they announced the Wembley Stadium show,
Mm.
so it was a great chat with him. But I do think that they've just evolved and evolved and evolved. And Damon, like, was always a fantastic front person. Like, he was and still is. And I've
Yeah.
only recently just watched the Blur film that come out, and it's such a good watch. And and I think even to you look at the evolution of Blur, over the albums, and then that's without the good, the bad, and the Queen, and what he was doing.
Mhm.
Like the Marley music record he put out was unreal. And look at he's eclipsed all of that when you start looking at like success with Gorillaz, which is
Yeah, yeah.
like just the guy is a creative powerhouse, and yeah, and I think Essex should be very proud of him.
Yeah, and in that film, to be fair, they did include Colchester in that film as well,
Yeah,
which was
true,
cool.
true.
They did, and I was watching it on the plane back from America. We just done a tour in America, and I was flying back, and I was watching the film, and it was about the Colchester Arts Centre show as well, and that's like a 3 minute walk from my house,
Yeah,
and it was such a nice thing to see Blur finally speaking about Colchester in quite a positive light, going back to the old school and everything like that, St Helena's, and then seeing and Colchester Arts Centre is still my favourite venue. Obviously, 'cause it being close to my house is one of the reasons as well. But I love it so much, and to see them talking about it and talking about it fondly as I was flying back after like a month and a half in America was yeah, it was just so nice.
love that. Love that. Right, last track. A song that you think many may not know that you would like them to hear.
So this is a song by someone who's been a support act of ours now. She did the whole of our last but one UK tour with us. And she was Colchester, then she was Wales for a little bit, and now she's living up in Manchester. And I just went to a little like local show in Colchester, and like she was playing, and I like it blew my like the lyricism, the delivery, and everything just blew my mind so much. And I was turning to my friends who, because obviously when you start touring, you're never home anymore, and I was like, do you know this person who's playing right now? And they're like, oh yeah, that's this person, and I was like, why has nobody told me? Because it's like completely my kind of music, and she's local and she's amazing. Just immediately offered her the tour straight away. And she's called Generation Feral. She's a one woman outfit. Uses a bit of loop pedals and stuff live, which I think has been overdone a lot, but just the way that she does it's amazing. But then her lyrics and her delivery over the top of it is just incredible. And she's got an EP out at the moment that's amazing. She's got an EP that's gonna come out at some time when she gets her shit together. Basically, I've heard lots of it, and I think it's even better. But this is my favorite of her songs that are out right now, and it's called "Newborn Adult" by Generation Feral.
Fantastic. We make it nice and easy for people to go and check out the songs. Although I imagine your clubbing song's going to be quite hard to find.
It's still on. It's still up on. It's quite big. Just no one's like I was on YouTube. It's had 200,000 views on YouTube.
Oh,
So
right. Oh,
people,
fantastic.
and so it's not like super niche. I just think it's quite niche. Yeah, it's quite niche. But I think it's on all the streaming platforms and stuff because I checked
Perfect
earlier.
then. Perfect. Well, we put together a little playlist so people can go and check out everything. And obviously, we'll be putting Pet Needs on there. And it's fitting now that we start talking about Pet Needs because we've been rabbiting about everybody else's music. Let's talk about yours. What's happening, mate?
We've just released an album. We released an album called Elbows Out. This is Capitalism that came out last week or the week before or something like that. And then weirdly, usually you release an album and then you run straight away off on tour. We're announcing a tour for October because I've just had a kid. So
Wonderful.
like, yeah,
Congratulations.
man, thank you. So like, I'm having a baby, so I'm having a couple of months. We're jumping around a couple of little festivals and stuff, but nothing too major, nothing too far from home. But then like October, we're going like really hard with it again. Which is yeah, it's interesting to stop for a little while because like since lockdown, we've been doing music full time and we've just been whizzing round and around the world like so many times, going to like America 4 or 5 times a year, Europe the same, around the UK the same. And suddenly I've kind of just suddenly stopped. I've got this like precious little life in front of me at the moment, which is yeah, incredible. Like yeah, mad. But it's also I thought I didn't know how I was gonna react when I had a child. I didn't know if I'd think, oh, everything else is irrelevant but you. But it's kind of like it like she's amazing and she's incredible and she's filling me with joy when I'm around her and I'm loving in a different way that I didn't even know I had the capacity to love
Yeah.
anyone or anything. Um, but also it's made me kind of double down on what I think is important in life as well, and like double down on how lucky I've been to be able to tour, and hopefully I can like show her the world someday. We're really good friends with a band called Skinny Lister who tour with their child as well. We've done America together with their child, and like done Europe together and stuff similar, and yeah, I think the fact that hopefully she'll be able to like come to festivals and stuff and everything, it's just made me very excited for the future and being able to involve a child in this next step of the journey. But yeah, October is the big one, and it's gonna be massive, bigger venues than we've ever done before. Again, like we keep like every tour, we keep like upgrading the venues. We did the garage in London that we sold out on the tour last time, and we're upgrading again this time for this run. So yeah, hopefully it still keeps getting bigger because we're having a lot of fun doing it.
Oh, that's great to hear, mate. And if people want to catch shows, catch releases, where's the best place to keep up to speed with all things Pet Needs, mate?
So we are Pet Needs on all socials, or it's petneedsbands.com as well.
Well, if it's all right with you, Johnny, when we drop this episode, we'll tag you in it so if people aren't following you already, we'll make it nice and easy for them to go and do that.
Yeah, great. That's great, Stu. Thank you.
Oh, absolute pleasure. Johnny, thank you so much for giving up your time and coming on here
Mate,
today,
this is
mate.
really fun. This is a bit of a bucket list thing, man. So yeah, genuinely.
Oh,
Yeah,
fantastic,
I've really
mate.
enjoyed it. Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm going to press stop, but don't go anywhere.